tell us a little bit about some of your thoughts about leading in a crisis.
So an approach towards leading in a crisis. In our lifetimes, I can think of two moments like that we've all had experience, and we've all probably, as leaders, reacted in different ways. One was the aftermath of 9/11, and the second would be probably the global pandemic just a few years ago. And I think the first thing you do as a leader during a crisis is you show up. You have to be visible. You have to recognize where the team's at. And, in both of those situations, one, I was earlier in my leadership journey, the other I was more recent. But what I learned through both of those crises was you learn a lot about your team. And you see leadership emerge in a crisis, because while you can plan for certain elements of a crisis, maybe a communication plan or how the team may stay connected, nobody plans for that exact crisis. That's why they call it a crisis. So you don't know. And how people react in that period of maximum ambiguity, that's where you see real leadership emerge. And so I saw that during the pandemic, where you see people step up, as we talked a little while ago about, how do you identify leadership? It's people that step up at that moment during a crisis. But you as a leader have to be clear, have to be empathetic, have to show up, have to be present in that moment during a crisis. Certain moments, certain roles, leadership roles, absolutely. You need to, if there's a task at hand, if you've got a derailment, you've got to have somebody in charge and move things along and get the task done. But that's not every leadership role in those moments. And there's different leaders at every moment in time. And when you don't know, in the case of what we were talking about, a pandemic, we didn't know what was coming next. None of us ever faced it before. How can you be certain about anything? And so I don't think it's very leadership-like to be always confident and sometimes right. I think it's better to be always present and looking for the best solution for the moment. It's easy to stand back and say they should have done something different.
Yes.
But in the moment, with the available information and knowing that the implications of not acting and the risks of not acting, you make the best decision you can. And I think particularly in those moments, it's important to have the best experts available, and they're usually technical experts, and that will guide you. And then they're the tough moments for leaders. Yeah. That decision to take one action versus another, that may in hindsight be viewed as very questionable or suspect. That's part of leadership. Leadership is, it's interesting when I talk to people that want to be leaders, I like to say they sometimes like the title or the ribbons or what their perception of it, but it's a new job. Like, it's not what you did before. What got you here is not going to get you there. And I think leadership is tough, where you have to face those situations, and there's not usually a lot of people around you. And then particularly when you're in a crisis, people will look to you and say, I know this is your call. I'm going to give you the best information you can. If you've got a good team around you, you can make those decisions, but it's not always easy. But you have to have that intestinal fortitude. Well, it can get messy, because the nature of work we do in transportation impacts communities. It exists as a way to move people around. And so there's rarely what we do positively or negatively doesn't impact a community somewhere. And so, leadership is an opportunity. It also has tremendous obligation to it. And that's why it's important to be developing your skill sets along the way, and holding yourself accountable, and know that, like, I'm going to make this decision. I need to make this decision. I'm going to gather the best information I can, and I can stand by that decision with the information I have. Some do it better than others, and know that decision may not be. There's an expression, not all big ideas are loved by everybody, and I think that applies in our business as well. And you really have to, as you were saying earlier, lean in at times, and it can be uncomfortable, but it's nothing to shy away from.